Hi, it's Dr. Noel Williams, February 8th, 2021. Kim's laughing because this is my third start. I'm starting again because the speaker thing came out and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, February 8th, COVID update. We're going to talk a lot about vaccines and variants, of course. So let's talk about variants first. If you're panicking about the variants, if you're deeply horrified and feel you're doomed and there's no hope, you should feel that way. There is no hope because that's what the media is telling you. And if you believe that, let go of it. Okay, I had ABC, NBC, and CBS on at 5:30. I channel surfed back and forth between all three of them. Literally, it was the same video on two of them with people in British police uniforms swabbing people at their door saying, we're trying to track down which British variant is where, and da-da-da-da-da. And then one guy goes to the lab that's doing the genetic testing, and he goes, look at these. We have millions of samples in these boxes, and we're going to have to figure out where the variant is. Okay, first of all, how long does it take to test and genetically map millions of swabs? It takes frickin' forever. It's useless. This is a useless effort. It's window dressing. It's nothing. It's meaningless. There's a virus and it varies. Oh my goodness. Can we not accept that? It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. Okay? It's normal. And so this fear and loathing, first about the English variant, which we already know is covered by the vaccines and covered by antibodies and infected people, previously infected people, because there's exactly one, and I'm yelling, one case report of a reinfection with the British variant, in the world medical literature. One, maybe there's two by now, but I haven't looked in about 10 days. One, oh my gosh, doesn't matter. Number two, same thing with South African. There's one reported variant, but they went to South Africa. And the AstraZeneca vaccine may not protect that much against mild or moderate disease, maybe not severe disease, but the AstraZeneca vaccine isn't that good anyway. Now, we've ordered 300 million of them, the US government has, based on the idea that it's going to pass the emergency use order, but I don't think it's going to, but if it does, don't take it. But I mean, it's all about fear and loathing. Don't get into it. It's about manipulation. It's about crap. It's not like that with viruses. There's not like this huge repetitive infections and pandemics. There's a few waves and then there's herd immunity because there's cross protection. Everyone is forgetting about T-cell immunity. Ugh, it's driving me nuts. We still do not have a variant to be concerned about. Maybe there will be. There probably will be at some point. But either way, take your vitamins. If you take your vitamins, it doesn't matter. God, I just think this is just insane. So that's that subject. Number two, Doxepent. Someone asked me about Doxepent, which can be for, I think, psoriasis. It's also for allergies or asthma. Totally fine to take. I would always encourage you to get your antibodies tested after your vaccine. But no issues with taking the vaccine and being on that. It actually inhibits the cascade of the cytokine storm in some respects. It's for asthma and other things, but it definitely will interrupt the formation of T2 helper cells, which is what you want to avoid. And it also blocks interleukin 4 and interleukin 10, which are pro-inflammatory in terms of the cytokine storm. So I definitely wouldn't stop it at all, and I don't think it's going to affect the vaccine, but I would get your antibodies checked. And so those are our two main subjects, is sanity in this time of chaos. In this time of chaos, don't believe the crap on TV. I mean, it's disturbing to me that they are willfully doing this. I'm also pretty disturbed, to be honest, and I'm fired up tonight about why are we doing a vaccine that gives you immunity to then not at some point going, once everyone's vaccinated, or let's even say you agree with Fauci and say 85% of us are infected or vaccinated, we don't need to do masks anymore. Because it's not going to be about that. I'm calling it now. They're going to try to make us wear masks for forever. That's stupid. It doesn't make sense. I think right now it's okay. But once people are vaccinated and we're above 75 to 80%, 85% if you believe Fauci, it's time to stop it. Okay? We're going to have this virus here forever. It's going to have different forms. We're going to be okay. Take your vitamins. You're going to be okay. This whole thing has to stop. It's becoming baloney. I mean, it's just obscene. Okay, but anyway, enough of that. So what are the questions? That's all I have to say. Don't buy into the baloney. This will end. It will end. Immunologically, we will have protection. We already know the MMR vaccine gives approximately a 30% protection. We already know the coronavirus does too, from the cold viruses. That's what the data shows on average across the world. So it's all baloney to continue this because they want to keep people from thinking. I'm beginning to wonder if there's a national conspiracy about it, but I won't go there. The next thing, the RNA virus is not going to kill you like they said on InfoWars. Someone sent me that in the next 6 months. It's not going to do it, okay? No one died from the phase 1 trials years later from Zika and the other ones they did on the phase 1. The animals that have gotten messenger RNA viruses didn't all suddenly croak. That isn't going to happen with this one either. So, this fear conspiracy stuff and InfoWars, which I have to admit that I go to every now and then to get a different point of view to see stuff, but I always take whatever's on there with a massive grain of salt because they're so crazy, and Alex Jones is so crazy and insane. They're the ones that said Sandy Hook was made up. And I mean, they're crazy. So they're pandering to an audience of people who are not sane. Sorry. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so almost all of these are repeats, but they're being asked quite a bit right now, so I figure it's worth doing. The only one that's not, I haven't heard this one before. One person thinks that an increased temperature is necessary for an immune response.
No. So think when you get a infection, you can get a symptomatic infection or an asymptomatic infection. And if you think about corona, if you've been paying attention, minimally it's 3-to-1 asymptomatic infections to symptomatic infections, and could be 10-to-1. And we know that very, very clearly. A large percentage of people who donate plasma for COVID because of their antibodies never even knew they had it. They found out they had it when they were just donating blood. They never had symptoms. It is the same thing with the vaccine. Sure, I got symptomatic from the vaccine, and if you get symptomatic, you're going to have antibodies virtually every time. If you don't get symptoms, you know what? You're going to have antibodies almost every time. It's 95% above the across the population who get the vaccine. It's just how much mediator do you release? I mean, if you don't release that much mediator, you're not going to notice it that much. So no, you don't have to have a fever or fatigue or a rash or anything to get immunity. It doesn't work like that. Now, probably the most people will have some level, but there are going to be millions of people who have no response at all that they can tell, and then they're totally immune. So don't think you need to have an effect that's noticeable.
Okay. Can you test positive from getting the vaccine?
No, because the PCR test is for live virus, and this is just an antigen or a protein. You can have false positives from a test, but the viral load is 0 from the vaccine. It's just proteins from the vaccine or messenger RNA that will produce proteins, but not an infection. Because remember, this isn't a live virus vaccine.
Okay, and then all the rest of these are the duplicates. So zinc, is it safe to take? Does it affect the vaccines?
So if you look at anything that helps your immune system respond to infections, it helps your immune system respond to vaccines. It's that simple. If your immune system's tuned up, your T1 helper cells are going to be there. They're going to be revved up. They're going to respond. You're going to have a good immune response. Zinc doesn't diminish your immune system. Vitamin D doesn't diminish your immune system. It gets it in line to respond appropriately without over-inflaming. Same thing if you get a vaccine. It helps it respond appropriately.
Same with ibuprofen, acetaminophen. Is that safe to take with the vaccine?
Totally safe to take with the vaccine because they're mediators. You're releasing mediators from cells. So no, it doesn't affect the vaccine efficacy at all. You're just trying to stop the pseudo-infective symptoms.
and suggestions for if you have allergies to eggs or shellfish, that kind of thing with the vaccine?
There's no contraindications for eggs or shellfish. I would always encourage people to think about a Benadryl the night before and an Advil. And then if it's then if you get your vaccine and those make you, or Benadryl makes you sleepy, do a Zyrtec and Advil an hour before. You don't have to do that, but that's what I encourage everyone to do. That's what I did.
Why are people 10 days after the vaccine get their antibodies tested and they're coming back negative?
Well, there's a few reasons your antibodies could come back negative 10 days after the vaccine. One, it's a little early. You probably want to do it day 12 to 14 minimally. We prefer about day 20 after your first one and 7 days after your second one. Number two, you have to be using the right antibody tests, and not all antibody tests are created equally. We're very specific. We use LabCorp, which is one of the largest labs in the United States. We use their SARS-2 COVID quantitative antibody assay that's specific for the antibody to the S1 antigen on the spike protein in the RBD receptor binding domain. So that's the one to get, LabCorp SARS-CoV-2 quantitative test. It's been vetted. I've read all about it. We've seen great and very appropriate results as expected because we've checked people before their vaccine, after their vaccine, at different points during, and we've seen the nice rises exactly mirroring what we should see based on the studies. Then compounding pharmacies. So I use compounding pharmacies constantly, and the other night I was trying to rave about them. So Sooner Discount in Norman, I love the people there. On Lindsay, I just had the big brain pop and I couldn't quite get them. And then I left out Medic Pharmacy over on Hefner and Hefner Parkway, along with Thrifty and Barrett's and TV Discount and Flourish, and Sherry's and Innovative, and in Midwest City, Lassiter's. Lassiter's Pharmacy was the pharmacy that introduced me to bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which is what my whole career's been about. So Lassiter's in Midwest City, Westminster, in Choctaw area, all of those are great. Wheeler, Stuckey, I think in Yukon. There's just so many good ones here in Oklahoma City. We're very blessed. Good people, good pharmacists, so big thank you to all of them. It's just Thrifty has been our partner because they're close to our office, and Danny Lynch and her team has been great. Nick over there and some of the other people have just been fantastic to our patients, like everybody's is. But when push comes to shove, when we've needed some COVID stuff taken care of, they have been really helpful for us. So I just have to give them props. But everyone's always helpful for us. I'm not saying that anyone isn't. It's just Danny Lynch has overachieved for our patients, and that's what matters. Not that I would say any of the other ones aren't fantastic too. Everybody's fantastic in the compounding business, but they're all nice folks. They're individualized care specialists. So that's it. Good night. Take care.